text Mark O'Donnell on 81333, starting your message with Wiltshire.
Happy solstice and longest day today. Our next guest, Jamie Graham from Dauncey, is about to row 22 miles to raise some much-needed funds for dementia research. Jamie's in the studio now with his wife, Vicki. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Vicki.
Hi.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Very good reason, Jamie, then, for you to undertake the challenge. What brought you to the Alzheimer's Research Trust, for whom you're raising money?
That's a good start, isn't it? Yeah.
That's okay, you take your time.
Do you want me to carry on?
Go on, just start me off, will you?
Just start you off.
You can't do what you would normally do, and you can't. And that's all it's really. It's all it, because it's you just feel left out. I've got something in my head, but I'd love to. I'd love to be able to. I'd love to tell you what it is. But I am trying to do that. And you can't get at it. Nobody's going to say, blah, blah, blah. It's what you can't do. And it's, Alzheimer's is what it is what they call, anyway. Horrid, go away.
Jamie was cycling back from the shop. This was after he'd been diagnosed. Popped in to say hi. I've always wanted to row from Eton to Henley, so we toyed around with it, and I thought that'll be forgotten, but it wasn't. So then started to talk with friends in the area, and immediately we came to the conclusion small boats were out, we had to do it in an 8. It was the only practical way of doing it.
Jamie was a businessman. He worked for multinational companies. In his spare time, if there was any, he enjoyed playing rugby. His main pastime was playing the guitar. He can't drive anymore. That was one of the first things to go. He can't read, but he's found that he can still take part in active sports, like riding his bicycle, and then he picked up on the fact that he could still row.
Okay, you're in.
Very good, James.
It was 2010 when Jamie and his family and friends launched the first Forget-Me-Not Row to raise funds for Alzheimer's research. The donations topped £97,000. Today we will follow Jamie and his crew as they attempt to repeat their success.
Are you ready? Row!
This time rowing from Henley back to Eton. They have 25 miles and 9 sets of locks ahead of them.
There's some really amazing people in the crew with Jamie. We've got 2 former Olympians, one of whom was in the Olympics 2 years in succession, and another one was in 3 Olympics. Then we have 4 Cambridge Blues, 2 Oxford Blues, and a former junior world champion. We've even got a lady who raced across the channel in a dragon boat. I think if they put their mind to it, they could probably do the whole thing in an hour.
Most of us are a little older than the average crew, of course, and we're rowing to Eton because, well, it's where Jamie was at school. Today, maybe, just for one day, we can imagine we're going back in time.
There are very strong and clear memories of what it was that he loved and enjoyed growing up at school, and rowing was a huge part of that. And of course, you know, you bond so well with your mates at school, don't you? So a lot of his oldest friends he's still very close to, and they were absolutely up for this mad scheme to get back on the river.
He's 3 years older than me, and when you're that age, he was a god, he was a superstar, he was celebrity. I mean, he was everything. He was celebrity chic. And I arrived 3 years behind him in the school and thought, that's what I want to be like.
Oh dear. There it is.
There's your car.
Look at it. Such a...
Oh, she was wonderful. I've known him since he was 14, so I've known boy and man, and I have to say I hadn't seen him for quite a while. We'd both been travelling. He'd been in the army, I'd been over to Mexico. We went to a friend's pre-wedding party together. Out came the guitar at dinner, which always happened, and I just loved his voice. So, and then there were jokes, and then there were laughs, and that was it, really. He was a brilliant father and always backed me. That made such a difference because the Magnus and Lena knew, you know, there was no way round one or the other. And then when we went to the States, I think, even increased his imagination. We'd be driving across the States in our old wagon, and he would make them feel that there were Indians about to charge, you know. He'd do bushy top tree, and they nearly fell out of the car with terror. Then peals of laughter. And so there was always a spirit of adventure with Jamie.
I think I must have been 10. We had to row effectively for an entire day against sort of headwinds to get to this island where apparently there was a grizzly.
It was a time when we did things together.
Jamie's a very committed person. Whatever he does, he gives 100%. When he focused on his work or on his music or me, you knew you were getting 100%.
Jamie needs a lot of help getting in and out of the boat. His sense of where to put his hands, how to move his body, he's just not able to assess what to do, and it's very tough.
No, it never occurred to me at all that he had dementia. I was so used to somebody who was totally in control, and I suddenly found him fretting about minutiae, things that hadn't bothered him. He was getting up far earlier in the morning and seemed to be completely exhausted by the time he got back from work, and the tension mounted. He got stressed. His usually very affable nature became quite tense and short-tempered.
Just withdrawing is how I felt. The conversations were less challenge. He had stopped challenging me as much as he used to.
And at that point we were wondering whether it was a degree of burnout. He was working incredibly hard in the IT industry, but it was just the early stages of things not quite being right.
I remember being out in the yard with him and asking him the time, and he had a watch on, and I saw him really struggling to be able to tell the time, and it was at that point I just sort of said, I knew that there was more to this.
I found something, and I found out that I thought I knew what was going to happen, and people say, well, you don't have it. I said, well, yeah.
So he went to have a SPECT scan in London, and the SPECT scan shows up amyloid deposits in the brain, which are the indications that you have Alzheimer's. And sure enough, when he got the results, he said, well, this is it, you have Alzheimer's. Just before his 60th birthday.
Alzheimer's is one of the most common forms of dementia. It is caused by the buildup of toxic amyloid deposits in the brain, which form what are known as plaques, and a protein called tau, which manifests itself as tangles in the cells of the brain. These plaques and tangles disrupt neuronal communication, impairing learning and memory. Gradually, over 6 to 7 years, the plaques will cause the brain cells to die, and people with dementia will experience the loss of language, coordination, and motor function. No one yet knows why perfectly healthy individuals succumb to the disease, or how long they will live with it, but the statistics are deeply troubling. Jamie is one of 820,000 people in the UK living with dementia today, and 36 million worldwide. New cases are diagnosed at the rate of 4.6 million every year, which means a new case every 7 seconds. As the population lives longer, this number is set to double every 20 years to tip 115 million people by 2050, unless new methods of diagnosis, prevention, and treatment are found. Dementia is one of the most serious medical challenges of our generation, and for everyone who lives with it today, they know there is no hope of recovery. Dementia remains degenerative, terminal, and incurable.
The reaction was, oh no, not Jamie. It can't be him. Sorry.
I remember Ma calling me to tell us that they had got the results of the scan and that it was Alzheimer's. When you hear the word, it's something that you've heard in the press or on television and not really known anything about. You just feel that you've entered a whole new world of the unknown.
When you get diagnosis, it is a grief that hits you because you realise everything adds up and you realise that you are losing the person you've known, in my case, since he was 14. And you know there's no way back, so it is a living grief. It's not something that's just sudden and cut off. You're going to lose him more and more as the years progress. But you can't grieve because the one thing you have to do with the person who's suffering themselves immensely and has tremendous fear and mental pain, you can't let them down. So for somebody like me who keep her emotions on her sleeve, that was one of the toughest parts, was I couldn't grieve.
You realise that you can't actually have a normal relationship any longer. The conversation is always going to be one-sided. He'll start a sentence and he doesn't know how to finish. If we're a group of us, he'll switch off because he can't follow a conversation involving more than one person. And then maybe he'll come back into the conversation from 5 minutes ago with a comment, and you feel as though he's disappearing on you.
Words meant so much to Jamie. He was a great communicator. He had the most incredible memory for songs and jokes and stories and a tremendous wit. He loves writing songs about his friends, about his family, and I think that's what attracted everybody, including myself, to him.
Well done, keep up, good show.
I think when the words are locked away in your head and you feel you can't communicate, how frustrating is that? How frightening is that?
Golly, if one could if I could say what I could teach you, I could ride a car.
Drive a car.
I could many things.
Sometimes he has disturbed nights and he's very distressed. So he leaps out of bed at 4 in the morning, and that's not my finest hour, and will disappear, and I think, okay, he's gone to the loo, because he can manage that and come back to bed. But it was a bit longer the other night, and he came back fully dressed. Well, I'm not naturally a patient person, and that comes out quite strongly when I let rip. And then I feel awful because I know he's struggling. And it's that knowledge that he knows what he's doing to me is another really hard thing to deal with, because you feel you're giving him that burden again by being crabby and impatient.
Vicki is one of over 600,000 full-time unpaid carers in the UK.
Vicky's brilliant. I mean, she knows exactly what's going on somehow.
She's a woman.
Vicki and Jamie were fortunate enough to be referred to the Forget-Me-Not Centre, a trust which supports people living with dementia in Wiltshire. The centre takes a unique approach to dementia, encouraging people with it to share their experiences and retain their independence through regular hiking, orienteering and outdoor activities. It was here Jamie was inspired to do something to raise money, moved by the people he met and their stories.
I was working in a bookshop, and I went into work one morning, and all of a sudden I couldn't read.
Things were getting quite difficult at home because of repeating myself or blowing up the house every so often.
I was self-employed, no job, can't drive, and these are all things that the average person hasn't taken into consideration.
I think it's one of the most frightening things for any human being is to lose your independence and your ability to understand the world in the way that we know it.
I actually went down a black hole for about a week, or just perhaps a bit more of a week. Totally blanked everything out. And then for some reason I woke up one morning and said to myself, in these actual words, shit happens. It's happened to you. Deal with it.
You think you're doing well, and you're not, but at the same time, you can have, you can do things.
I think Jamie has a very big desire to do something really meaningful and important, and suddenly thought, what about if we do something? Actually was the words he used, we'll do something. And we talked about walking and we talked about all sorts of sports, and he decided at that point that it would be rowing, and to do something that he hadn't done for ages, that was loads of fun, that he knew would bring everybody together for a purpose.
I'm doing it because I'm rather sort of pushing, because I feel I can get to people and do things.
We started practicing on the ergo in March, I think. Did it once a week and then started building it up. That seemed to suit Jamie quite well. And then towards the last month, I was trying to do it 3 times a week. And it was clear that Jamie was looking forward to each session and would actually get grumpy with me if I left it for more than 2 days. He seemed to be quite happy just rowing.
Not too fast. Not too fast.
In the heat and the sand, houses burnt out of hand, you will see them. In a town once a mire, ruled by violence and fire, you will see them. Out of the north, the Lord of the Scot, who decides what is and what is not. 700 Glengarrick men, heard the cry come ringing down the glen. Hold the name behind the sand, tuck your rifle in your hand, the Argyles are moving again. 700 Glengarrick men.
Is that the right way?
Heard the cry come ringing down the glen.
crew have come 15 miles in 4 hours. They have another 10 miles ahead. Jamie will join them again for the last stage of the row to Eton.
We ended up with a rotating crew of 16. Nobody, even the fittest members of the boat, really would enjoy doing the whole lot. It does take a lot out of you.
I can hardly stand because...
What do you expect trying to get a sort of 10-ton cock from the back of a boat?
Well, you just wait. Thank you very much, Cox. Alzheimer's research is so needed in this country. I think it touches every family. And we believe that by raising as much money as we can, that we will, I hope, achieve the research. That's why we want to get as much money as possible.
The money raised by Jamie is helping Alzheimer's Research UK fund a 4-year project at Imperial College London, where scientists are investigating the link between exercise and Alzheimer's. Dr. Magdalena Sastra and her team are focusing their research on a protein called PGC1A, which increases during exercise and is thought to have a combative effect on the hallmark plaques of the disease. Already involved in regulating diabetes, PGC1A could also protect against Alzheimer's.
The pathological symptom of the disease is that these patients, they present amyloid plaques in the brain. As a consequence, there is a huge neuronal loss in brain areas that are related to memory. They have seen that with exercise, you have an increase of this PGC1 alpha protein. There are many people working in this field trying to find out why sport is protective against Alzheimer's. Right now, there is no cure for Alzheimer's. The drugs that are in the market just do ameliorate the disease. People now what are trying to study are treatments that stop the progression of the disease. So if you get an Alzheimer patient in a very early stage, we could try to stop the progression of the disease. And on the other hand, you also have severe cases of Alzheimer's. So people, they are really ill. And what people are trying to study is also treatments that improve the quality of life of these patients. Particularly, it's important for the families because they also suffer when they see the patient that cannot sleep or it becomes aggressive. They calculate that the number of Alzheimer patients is going to increase 4 times in the next 50 years. I think it's very important that they have some hope, like Jamie has. It's the positive attitude to do, to think, I'm going to do something that other people, they have the disease in the future, they have a cure.
My hope now is that the world really sits up and takes notice of Alzheimer's and dementia, because the world has been asleep and it has to wake up.
It's very important because people, everyone's got to be together, and we hope to do well.
Loved the road. It wasn't just the exercise, which clearly helped, but it was the joy of the camaraderie of his friends, having like-minded people, sort of water rats, if you like.
I'm having a great day.
Great, and you looking forward to the next part of the row?
Of course, how couldn't I?
I think it's just really special to be part of it. There's just that photo we just had with about, what do we have, 12 Grahams there, all here for him, really, and just sort of support him through this.
Hip, hip, hooray!
You've nearly done it.
We've come almost 25 miles. In fact, we've done 22 miles, and we've got about 4 kilometres to go.
Backstops. Are you ready? Blow!
Eton's best-known holiday, the 4th of June, is a celebration of the birthday of King George III, Eton's greatest patron. The day features a procession of boats in which the best oarsmen in the school row past the gathered crowd in vintage boats and traditional costume. Jamie and his crew are today the guests of honour.
Jolly boating weather, and the harvest green, laid on a feather,
Hats off!
and you'll be serving our faces.
project, this whole thing, by making such a public and amazing statement beyond his family, you know, to the media, socially, to the school, goes such a long way.
He's a cool guy, and I suppose, you know, we all lead our own paths, but he's been an inspiration, you know, every step of the way.
There's a hope really that comes with it. Very good, very good. I'm amazed, and it's so good to have it all clenched together.
And that's what rowing does.
Did you know that you've managed to raise £160,000 now? That's apparently the latest. Vicki told me the other day that the money you've raised from these 2 rows is £160,000. That's so much, Jamie. That's such a lot of money.
It is, yeah.
And it's all going towards research.
Yeah, that's a very amazing amount of money, and I didn't know that it was like that. You know, and it sort of sets me thinking, hey, you know, we could do more.
Charities, and I'm very glad to say that the row took place on Friday, and that Jamie and Vicki are back in the studio. Hello.
Hello. Morning.
How did it go?
Pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well. We had a very early start, and so we got them all out of bed, we then got the team together in their rather sexy stuff that we gave them.
Oh, you what outfits?
Wonderful.
Purple.
Purple.
You went in purple. Oh, that's good. Make a splash.
And they were very smart. They were the ones that you can really sort of stretch and all of this sort of stuff. So,
are you sure a man of your age should be seen in purple lycra?
Well, we all love it. So
loads of support from family, friends, and was it successful though? Because it was a 22-mile row, wasn't it? Everything that we wanted to do, we did. Excellent.
And we incorporated everybody that we could, and people who have been so good.
You've brought your harmonica with you, which is a tremendous thing. If you wouldn't mind playing us, playing us out, Jamie, it's a tremendous thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Graham and his harmonica.